gets the pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Into the wide Round. Round goes in to score.
Ardie Savea down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
We're on. Welcome back to another edition of Surly Talk Sports. Fresh in the saddle after a massive weekend at Magic Round. Plenty of antics to pick apart from a big weekend in Brisbane, which I'll touch on shortly in the NRL section. As always, this podcast is brought to you by the TAB. Get around them if you're having a flutter this weekend. A cheeky little Carmichael punt. If green ticks on bet slips is your goal, as it always is mine, there's plenty of good sport to get involved in this week, of course. NRL, your usual, Super Rugby, some big games there, including Chiefs, Crusaders, which should be a doozy. UFC 315, Navajo Sterling in the mix. Really looking forward to that on Sunday morning. Plus NBA playoffs, just a few of the options that you can have a punt on at the moment. So download the app or head along to their website. If you're not already a customer, sign yourself up and get around it. As always, gamble responsibly, but do so through the TAB. And as I alluded to before, there's a lot to tuck into this weekend. Plenty of sport going on. So without further ado, let's rip off the Band-Aid and get straight into it. Talking all things God's game, Rugby League. How good. Magic Round, how good is it? Honestly, the best weekend on the Rugby League calendar. I'd chuck it up there higher than Vegas, and I've had a few people ask me how it compares, and to be completely honest, Vegas was unreal, but that's purely down to it being Vegas, you know, the entertainment capital of the world. That city itself is a destination. Rugby League, it's almost secondary, and it was sick to go over there with Warriors fans and experience something really different, but Magic Round, nothing compares. Honestly, if you've never been before, get your group of mates together, start locking it in early, book it in for next year. You won't regret it. It really is Rugby League heaven. 9 games, of course, the 8 NRL games, and then the Women's Origin game, which was a bloody good spectacle as well. You got fans supporting all teams there, everyone in kit, some hissing retro jerseys, Warriors fans in massive numbers. We certainly took over. Caxton Street just humming the whole time. They shut the street down. Fans are just walking around, getting amongst it. There's so many bars to stop into and have yourself some tins as well. Of course, the Warriors pre-game event at the Lord Alfred, that's always must-see stuff, and great to see so many Surly and One Take listeners in there as well. Really appreciated everyone telling me that they enjoy those pods. It was one of the best Magic Rounds I've ever been to. In fact, probably my favourite one so far. The rain, that didn't matter. It was a little bit annoying at times, but it certainly didn't dampen the spirits. Everyone's just in such a good mood. There's never any trouble. People are riding home multis, having beers together. It's just bloody good fun, of course. A hissing showing from the Warriors fans too. We're the talk of the town in the Aussie media. They're all saying that we won in Vegas, we dominated the crowd presence there, and we certainly won in this one. Shit, did I feel sorry for the Tigers and the Dragons. As soon as that Warriors game finished, I would say at least 80% of the stadium cleared out. That's how much of a presence the Wars had. We just dominated, man. Ooh-ah, up the Wars, the team song, everything was just going off. It's great to see. We're a passionate bunch. We get around our team, and when we're winning, there is no better fan base to be amongst. That's for sure. Safe to say, had a big night after the game too. Brisbane, the old Valley, it's a pretty deadly place. Actually ended up at one point in the same venue. Some of the goats of the game sharing a tin. Jonathan Thurston, Cooper Cronk, Joey Johns, Freddie Fittler, you name it, they were in this joint. Didn't pester them, didn't ask for photos or anything like that, but it was unreal just being in the presence of those roosts. Actually managed to make some great content as well with guys like Skipper Scope, Bloke in a Bar, Roo. They're just all bloody good people too. It was a 10 out of 10 weekend. Can't wait to go again. I really hope it stays in Brisbane long term as well. It's literally the perfect place for it. I know as a Kiwi, you're biased. You want it to come here, but honestly, Brisbane, 100% lock it in for the next 10 or so years. It's just built for Magic Round, and the trip over is half the fun. I don't think Auckland would do it justice. We just don't have it set up as well as they do. Eden Park, you could go to Kingsland, but it's still, these venues can't hold as many as something like the Caxton can. So let's hope it stays in Brizzy. The NRL don't mess with it because it really isn't broken, and we can enjoy Magic Round and the spectacle that it is for many more years to come. On to the results. Of course, mentioned before, kicked off with the New South Wales women smoking the Queensland women's sides. Queensland, they just don't get Origin at the moment, and this for me was a massive omen of things to come in the men's series as well. When you think about it, the men, they lost their last game at Suncorp. The women, they lost their last game at Suncorp too. That place is no longer a Queensland fortress, and the Mighty Blues are well and truly on top in both forms of the game. For your Friday night footy, it kicked off with the Sharks taking on the Eels. Sharks got the dub 28 points to 18. This was a closer game for me than the scoreline suggests. I thought the Eels were decent and probably had their chances to win this game too. Mitch Moses, shit does he make a difference to them, makes them a far better football side. I'm still not 100% convinced on the Sharks either. They look patchy at times and they really struggle to put teams away. I did think though Nico Hines, he had a really good game in this one, his best performance of the season so far. Will Kennedy in some great form at the moment too, an important 2 points for them to lock them into 6th and what could have been potentially a banana skin game. I know I was tipping out the Eels left, right and centre, so well done to Craig Fitzgibbons, lads. Then following that, the Roosters got up 36 points to 26 over the Redcliffe Finns. A good win for the Chooks as well. They lost Sandon Smith early, so they were faced with a bit of adversity, but they recovered from that well. James Tedesco, fuck, is he in good form at the moment. He was outstanding, really putting on that pressure to try and wrestle the one jersey away from Dylan Edwards. I think Laurie Daly will stick with Edwards. For me, it's his jersey to lose as the incumbent, and he hasn't done enough to lose that. But Teddy playing some great code at the moment. And if he doesn't get picked for Origin, I'll be bringing him into my fantasy side for sure for that Origin period, because fuck, is he racking up the points, playing unreal code. Maki Mark Nwanganetoasi, he was really good again as well. So much so now that the Chooks have come out in the last few days and said Dommy Young, the XL condom, he is free to look around for other teams, free to leave the Roosters, their new recruit. And it's interesting too, it's said that the Knights are the favourites to get him back. If they do re-sign him, I hope it's on a cut price deal compared to what they were offering him last time, because he did choose to leave them not that long ago. But funny how things age. But watch this space, because it looks like the big fella, the Flyer, could be heading back to Newey. Then on your Saturday, kicked off with the Poo Slinger Cup. The Knights finally clicking into gear and pumping the Bunnies C team 34 points to 4. An embarrassing loss this one for South Sydney, but you can excuse it. To be fair, they were down so many troops. And it was just good to see the Knights scoring some points at the moment. They actually had a fair few fans there, some supporters that had made the trip, so hats off to them, because your team is shit. If you're willing to fork out the money, then you well and truly are a real one. I thought KP looked really good. He turned it on. Geez, that Fletcher Sharp is a footballer too. Lightning quick, deadly with ball in hand. Bagged himself a triple meaty in what was a much needed dub for them. Then the main event, the biggest game of the weekend. Warriors 30, Cowboys 26. What a result. Game of the round. Haters would say that was the Storm versus Canberra, but I'll say that this was the game to see for sure. An 80-minute roller coaster, tough on the emotions. Thought we might have lost that game at multiple times across the end there, but another massive performance from the boys, and one that threw so many spanners at us too, but still we managed to hold strong and bank the 2 points. Another game where come the back end of the season, we're going to look back at this one and think, shit, was that important? We wouldn't have won this in previous seasons, but we banked it, and now we're sitting pretty as a result. I thought the first half was arguably our best 40 minutes of football all season, especially on attack. We scored 5 tries, including a double to Lukey Met, and I just love the layering and shape of our attack. Our second rowers running great down lines, our halves either playing them through a hole or playing behind them to our centres and wingers in space. Then that Adam Pompey intercept right on halftime. I honestly thought that was the killer blow and that would go on to 13 plus the Cowboys, who would be dejected after throwing a shit pass right on the hooter. So often we see in games that teams just can't bounce back from conceding points right on the halftime siren, but the Cows had other ideas, and in our defence, they didn't cross until the 56th minute either, but they went bang, 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 56th minute, 59th minute, 63rd minute, 3 quick tries all in succession, but it was all after Rocco Berry left the field with his hamstring injury. We had Ed Cossey playing with a broken collarbone. We had to shift Capewell to the centres, rearrange the middle rotations. We had Lecker going 80 minutes compared to, 35 to 40 odd the week before. We had plenty of shit thrown at us in the second half. That Metcalf try saver on Taulangi was definitely the game-winning moment for me. His speed is just such an asset for us. There were other game-winning moments down the stretch as well that probably go unnoticed by many, but they were crucial in ensuring we got the win. And on reflection, this was just such a proud, gritty performance where the lads just refused to give up and roll over despite everything that we were being faced with. So many standouts as well. Aaron Clark, for me, another massive knock. You can pretty much pencil him down as a standout for next week too. The bloke is just that reliable at the moment. 69 minutes in this one, a nice number. I thought momentum really changed when he subbed off as well. 204 run meters, 81 PCMs, 38 tackles, for 0 missed. To be under that much fatigue, play that many minutes, run for that many meters, and still not fall off one fucking tackle, that is crazy. Lukey Metcalf, of course, man of the match, picked up the maximum Dally M points to move him into 3rd or 4th on the Dally M ladder as well. Love to see that, but of course he scored 2 tries, got 4 conversions and a penalty. Only kicked at 71%. He'll want to improve on that as well, but I trust him, I back him in and think he will. 162 run meters, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 17 tackles. A great performance from LM7, as it was from his halves partner too, almost the unsung hero of the team this year, and Chanel Harris-Tavita. He scored himself a try, had 2 try assists, and 27 tackles for none missed, alongside 357 kick meters. He's playing great code this year, and I reckon that's the best these two have looked as a halves combo this season so far, which is extremely promising signs for us. The boys are starting to gel, these two in particular, and our attack is only going to continue to level up as a result. Holy hecka, here comes Lecker, mentioned before, 80 minutes from him. For the first time in his young NRL career, made some big plays defensively, a couple huge shots there from the blonde bullet, as Mick Innes has effectively dubbed him. Mitchy Barnett, workhorse, game high 46 tackles, as well as 134 run meters in 57 minutes. That is a crazy amount of work rate. Sammy Healy, last but certainly not least for me, the impact he made on this game. And full credit to Webby too. 14 minutes to go, game on the line, lads are tiring. So easy not to throw a young fella out there on debut into the deep end, but instead Webby decided to trust him. He could have gone with a 16-man rotation, but he said, Healy, I trust you. I know you're good enough, and credit to the bloke. He checked in at a crazy time. No doubt his head was all over the shop. He made a couple massive plays, including diving on that loose ball and almost setting up one of the great try assists on debut as well. I thought he really helped to change the momentum with his running game and his ball playing ability. It was a great first shift, and I'm so excited to see him play more footy. Actually did a one take with him that's probably out by the time you're listening to this as well. If you haven't listened already, go check it out. And if you have, I hope you enjoy getting to know a bit more about that roost. Overall, a huge win though, given everything. No Fish, no Dell, no Roger. Ali ruled out late in the week. We had in-game injuries. We had guys playing extended minutes. It was just another of these games that, look, if we hadn't got the 2 points, we could have come up with so many excuses to justify that, but instead we dig deep and we get the dub. We're sitting in 3rd, and when you look at the top 8, we've played 5 of the other 7 teams in it, and we have a 6-2 record. You can't say we're not the real deal, so shout out to the boys going great guns at the moment. Shit, is it a good time to be a Warriors fan too. It's not just the first grade ticking boxes. Harold Matts back-to-back beating the Knights. We've been in the comp for 2 years, the under-17s, and we've won it both times. That is unreal. Bishop Neal, a great game from him. Fuck me, does he have a future, as does that young fullback. And then, of course, you got the New South Wales Cup side sitting in first. Pumped the Bears on the weekend, stacked full of NRL talent. You just love to see it up the wires. And then, of course, Tigers, Dragons, after that, plenty of points in this one. 34-28 it finished, but it did feel like a bit of an anticlimax. At the stadium, as I said before, the crowd cleared out. It started raining. Still, there was some decent footy played, though. And it was a pretty good win for the Tigers in the end. Old Jaden Sewer, he'll go down as Dick of the Day, that's for sure. He will be kicking himself. All he had to do was put the ball down, and potentially this game's result was flipped on its head. This was literally the definition of a 12-point try. Drops it, comes off his thigh as he's in the motion of diving to put the ball down. I have a Dream Buller Vanaka, aka Dream Buller, scoops it up from his own in goal and goes the length of the field. What an absolute cock up. If he's not combed in his court session as a result of that, then geez, the boys have let him off lightly, and no doubt Flano gave him one of the great sprays. Super Sunday was a triple header as well. You had the Titans beating the Dogs. Titans suck. Dogs are decent. Kiraz had himself an unreal day. Really pushing now to wear that New South Wales Origin jersey. Zach Lomax still not back for the Eels this week, so there is a spot up for grabs there. Plenty of good contenders, but Kiraz shows that he deserves to be in the mixer as well. And I did want to highlight for the Titans too, old David Fafita, the chicken fajita. He was dropped to reserve grade for this game. Coach Desi Hasler made a bit of a statement, tried to put a bit of a rocket up him, but clearly it didn't work. Looking at his stats from that reserve grade game, only ran for 50-odd metres. That's a very disappointing display for one of the best attacking threats in the competition on his day. I know a lot of fantasy owners got burnt by buying him as well. Geez, something has to be going on there. Perhaps he could be someone that makes a mid-season transfer as well. Wouldn't mind grabbing him at the Wars, to be fair. Although I'm sure the Roosters, they would probably love to clear up some money for him. And there's chat around Brandon Smith getting an early release alongside Dommy Young. Maybe they go after him again if the blood isn't that bad and he hasn't burnt that bridge. But something to monitor. Second to last game of the weekend, Panthers 32, Broncos 8. The Broncos roller coaster continues. They got pumped on their home turf. Interesting to see the Finns and the Broncos, two teams that play their home games at Suncorp, were both their away sides this week, and they both got beaten. A bit of karma there from the Rugby League gods. I thought Cleary was outstanding. Rolled back the clock for a 2023 grand final repeat try as well, which no doubt had Broncos fans in full PTSD. Man, are they a tough team to get a read on at the moment this year. To be fair, both teams are, but the Broncos, they were the most disappointing of the weekend for me almost. They fired no shots. They looked like they didn't want to be there after pumping the Dogs last week. They're lacking consistency, and they need to find it ASAP. I see Ezra Mam back this week via their reserve grade side. It'll be interesting to see how quickly they bring him back into the mixer. And then the final game of the weekend, shit, this one didn't disappoint. I was actually gutted we flew out on Sunday because I wanted to watch this one live, and it went down to an absolute thriller. Storm 18, Raiders 20, go the milk. A great result for them. Another game where the Storm get out to a nice early lead too and get run down. And another game where Canberra steal the show in the second half and pull off the upset. KO Weeks, take a bow. I thought he was outstanding. That Canberra pack as well, they are just so scary. Tapane, Horsburgh, they're all just big boppers that don't shy away from the tough stuff. They're not afraid to rattle some cages and get physical and shit. That young lad Tamale on the wing too, in good try scoring form, but he's a bloody strong ball runner as well. It looks like Ricky Stewart's uncovered a bit of a gem there. A great performance from the Green Machine, a dramatic ending as well. Not sure on a few of those calls. Thought they were a little contentious down the stretch, but a couple brain explosions from the Storm boys as well. Ultimately, in the end, they were their their own worst nightmare. Old Bellamy, he won't be happy with this one at all. The Tigers, they may well feel the wrath of that this weekend. Man, do they miss Harry Grant. 2 of their 3 losses now have come without him this season. It just goes to show they are beatable despite being stacked on paper. And if you'd told me after 9 rounds the Warriors would be ahead of the Storm on the ladder, I would say book your grand final tickets right now, Warriors fans. And look, that's exactly what I'm saying. We're going all the way to the big dance. How fucking good. But on to this weekend. Round 10 kicks off tonight with the Eels taking on the Finns. An interesting game, this one, with some pretty good individual matchups across the park as well. Of course, this one's played in Sydney. Home game for Parramatta. I love that Moses versus Katoa matchup as well. Pretty gutted Zachy Lomax isn't back. He's running out of time to push for an Origin spot, and he was so good for us last year as well as for Australia. There was Chatty Woodby back in the mixer this weekend, but he's not even on an extended bench, so that suggests he's still at least 1 more week away, which will be relief for the Finns. Gutted to see Jeremy Marshall-King out for them again. He's a real week in, week out type of operator at the moment. He's such a talented footballer too. I love watching him play. But tough scenes there for him. Friday night, Pooh Slinger Cup defending champs. The Knights will defend it in another shitter of a game up against the Titans. You could almost skip over this one, which I pretty much will. I will say, though, Jaden Campbell back for the Titans. That's a nice in for them as well, and good for some fantasy teams. Some fantasy owners, he's a good buy for that Origin period as well, where a lot of the top 7s will be ruled out due to Origin. JC, he's no threat of that, so perhaps he's someone you look to bring in. The second game on your Friday night, Bunnies versus Broncos. Much more of an interesting game, this one. Humphreys and Trelmit back for the Bunnies. 2 important ins. The Broncos with a shocking record at a core stadium and against the Bunnies as well, which I'll touch more on in the punting section. But you add to that 2 angry coaches after last week in Madge and Wayne Bennett. You'd expect a response from both of these teams, which makes it an intriguing one to watch. And when you add in the unpredictability of the Broncos as well, that makes this an incredibly tough game to pick. On paper, they should smoke them. That Broncos pack, so much bigger. You think they'll just roll up the sleeves and have their way, dominate them completely. But I'm not 100% sure that's the way it will pay out. I think this one could go down to the wire and be a real close clash. Super Saturday, Raiders versus Dogs. Keen for this game. 1 versus 2 on the ladder. A great entree to the main event of Wars versus Dragons after it. Of course, the Raiders hot to trot at the moment on a nice 5-game winning streak, and they're always so hard to beat at home. Canberra, it's a shithole of a place to go to. Literally bores teams into submission. And this week, the Dogs will be looking to make that trip. Luckily for them, they welcome back Matt Burton, but on the negative side, they will be without 3 of their best forwards, all second rowers too, and Jacob Preston, Josh Curran and Satili Tupanua. Their pack's looking a little bit light this week, and that plays right in to the Raiders' hands. I think Ricky's men are going to target Serraldo's lads up front and hand them their second loss of the year. And if the Green Machine do get up and it plays out the way I think it will, then they will have beaten the Warriors, Storm and Dogs. That's 3 of the other top 4 sides in the comp. That would be impressive stuff from a side that many had tipped to win the wooden spoon. I think you're crazy if you don't say that the Raiders are the real deal and a genuine premiership contender this season. Shit, that sounded weird to say. Warriors vs Dragons, 7:30 kickoff, that main event slot. How bloody good. Can't wait for this game. Changes are plenty for the Wars. Injury forced, a couple of them, of course, but thankfully we welcome back one of our star wingers in the flying mullet, the best finisher in the game, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. He will lace them up for his first game of the season, and there's a chance too, lingering on the extended bench, you could say he's a chance, Nickel Clockstad to come in. Our other star winger, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, he could also be back. It could be a double-barrel bonanza to chuck in on both our stings and give the Warriors a much-needed boost. that would be very well welcomed considering what we're up against this week. As it stands though, Capewell, he comes into the centres for Rocco, who's out with a hamster strain. Dallin goes on to the right wing. Tane shifts to the left. Of course, no Ed Kossie for this one. Marata moves into the second row. Jackson Ford comes into prop to start. Laban back from concussion onto the bench as well. If Roger's good to go, you'd have to think Pompey probably push back into the centres. Roger to the wing. Capes to the second row. Marata back to prop and Ford back to the bench, which will give us that starting pack from last week, which I think worked bloody well. So stay tuned closer to kickoff on any updates on that one. Great to see Sam Healy in the 14 again, hopefully set to get another crack in this game for the Dragons. Just the one change for Shane Flanagan's team. Emre Gula, he's replaced on the bench by young 19-year-old Loko Pacifica Tonga, and holy shit is he a big human being. Of course, staying at Magic Round, you're in the hotels with these teams, and all the home sides stay in one hotel, all the away sides stay in another. Bit of a stitch-up. The Warriors given the away hotel, even though we were classed as the home side. Just typical NRL mind games right there, but the Dragons were in our hotel. And I've got to say, Loko Pacifica Tonga has to be one of the biggest, tallest human beings I've ever seen. Still so young as well. The bloke is literally a man mountain, so I'm keen to see him make his NRL debut, although I have no doubt the boys are going to fold him, chop him in half, and he'll have no impact this week at least. Halfback Lockie Elias, he's named along the bench as well after a 2-try effort in New South Wales Cup last weekend. There's a chance he comes in there, so keep an eye on that. By all accounts, he was bloody impressive. Dragons on a 2-game losing streak, so this is a perfect time for me to get them, especially considering our record at WIN Stadium. Wins have been fucking hard to come by at that venue, which is ironic that it's in the stadium name. We've lost 11 of our last 13 games there, although glass half full, we've won 2 of our last 3, and this Warriors team this year, history doesn't seem to matter for us. The lads are fucking on, so I back us to go over there and get the chocolates. Also, just quickly, that Louis Brown kit, Dear Warrior capsule released on social media yesterday. How sick is that? The jersey is a work of art. The warm-up jersey, which is still to be revealed, is also elite. It goes on sale May 14th. The lads will be wearing it against the Raiders at the end of the month. Get in quick. That kit is going to sell out bloody fast, like hotcakes, so the saying goes, and I'll certainly be copping a couple of those to add to the old collection. Cowboys versus Panthers. Interesting game this. There's actually a few of those this weekend that I reckon could go either way. The Cowboys back home where they have a great record against the Panthers. They're looking to bounce back from last week. The Panthers though, here comes To'o and Mitch Kenny back for them. 2 huge ins. They're looking to get back-to-back wins for the first time this season. That is going to be a massive game in Townsville. Then on your Sunday, 2 games to finish us out. 2 good ones as well. Love this. A 4 p.m. kickoff. Storm versus Tigers. Tigers will give the Storm a decent go too. I'm keen to see how Terrell May and Whanua Pole go up against the Storm pack. The battle of the halves and the spines will be a good watch as well. It's kind of the rookies up against the vets in that department in some aspects anyway, but I'm expecting the Storm to be too good at home. Look to make a bit of a statement. Tigers have won 2 on the trot though, so I don't think it'll be all one-way traffic. And then the final game of the weekend, also a doozy. Manly, fresh off a bye, taking on the Sharks at Brookvale. Interestingly as well, the Sharks haven't lost at Brookie since 2019. It's rare an away side has such a good record against Manly at home, but those are the facts. Turbo, of course, he's back. That's a huge in for them. They bet the Panthers with him back at the back in their last game pre the bye. Gerbo, he's back as well. Comes into the team at prop. Jazz Tavanga remains at 13, where he carved up in their last appearance too. For the Sharks, just the one change to their team. It's on the bench as well, so a pretty settled lineup. 6th versus 7th on the ladder, 6:05 kickoff, Sunday roast slot. Should make for good watching and a great way to round out the sporting weekend. How good is God's Game Rugby League? And up the fucking Warriors. Let's go pump those Dragons and rewrite history before hopefully we get Fish and maybe Roger back either this week or next week too. You gotta love it. We're coming back to full health and we are well and truly on. Super Rugby, some big results last weekend as that playoff race continues to heat up, really getting towards the business end of the season now, and the Blues, they got the job done on the Friday night. The perfect result, exactly what they needed, 40 points to 19. They bet the Force. They didn't have it all their way in that game though. I thought the Force were up for it and in it until about the 50th minute. They didn't exactly roll over after that either, made the Blues work bloody hard. In the end though, it was just some individual pieces of brilliance which got the Blues the win and the bonus point that they needed. I thought Bodie was bloody good. His vision, his ball playing, those crossfield kicks, he's got them on a string at the moment. The loose forward trio, they had a strong showing as well, and I thought Cole Forbes on the sting was also really impressive. The draw up 36, Reds 33, big win for the Fijian side in Suva as well, which typically hasn't been a strong venue for them. They're way better in Lautoka, but they managed to score a meaty right at the death to steal this game. Their number 6, I think his name's Wonga, he was unreal all game. Runs like a winger, hits like a loose forward. The talent they have in amongst this team, when they're on and it's their day, they are truly terrifying. Forwards running like outside backs. This one was a great watch. Only caught the highlights, the 12-minute version, but shit, there's some tries that start from the opposite end of the field and you're thinking there's no way they can score from here, but they just razzle it up in Fijian style. They're a bloody nice watch, that's for sure. Upset of the weekend, Canes 35, Chiefs 17. I said this game would be close. Turns out it wasn't. Canes 13 plus them, and what a statement win from them after being down at Oranges. They just dominated the second half. 4 tries to none, and all 4 of those tries went to replacement winger and Balin Sullivan. Would have loved to have known what that was paying pre-game, or once he checked in anyway. Of course, extended minutes for him. Gutted for Kini Holo. I said last week he was in a 3-way shootout with his 2 Fijian brothers to try and get his way into the All Blacks and wear Mark Talia's jersey. It now looks like he's going to be out for a long time. Non-contact injury. Haven't checked the injury report, but I'm assuming it was a pretty serious one, so that is gutting. But in Balin Sullivan, they found themselves a more than capable replacement, so well done to him. The most impressive aspect of this all, though, was how the Canes were able to nullify the impact of the Chiefs bench. All season, that has been a real strength for them. They stack it with a couple of All Blacks, Taukiaho and the likes, and they come on, change the game around the 50 to 60th minute mark. Quality footballers against tired defenders. It just helps the Chiefs come home with a wet sail. But the Canes, they had some All Black class of their own on the bench too. Guys like Tossi, Sullivan, Xavier Numia, and they outplayed them, managed to hold them out on defence and score plenty of points on their own. I thought Ruben Love was really impressive in the 10 jersey as well, adding another bow to his string. The Canes, their best 2 performances this season have come over the last fortnight, beating the Brumbies on the road and beating the Chiefs at home. And for me, it's no coincidence those have been with Ruben Love at 10. The more you can get the Gilbert in his hands, the better this team has looked. He's got a nice kicking game, both out of hand and off the tee as well. And I actually really like what Harkin brings to this team too. Had a nice 50-22. You can't underestimate his kicking game as well. Also, the return of Billy Proctor and Riley Higgins in their midfield has just been massive. Proctor, he is so silky. This Canes team, man, they got the bye this week, but they are showing that they are genuine contenders too. And for me, they're well and truly locked into the 6, and they're a team you don't want to play come finals time. Brumbies, 40. Tars 17, Tars again showing they can't win on the road. They've had 5 wins this season and all of them have come at home. Their 5 losses, all on the road, and they haven't gone close to winning them either. It's pretty bizarre. It might end up costing them a playoff spot this season as well. In fact, I think it will, so they'll only have themselves to blame, but they are well and truly now in must-win territory as well. The Landers, 29, Moana, 34. Game of the round as a mutual fan for me. What an absolute thriller this one was to watch. And I was actually watching it on the plane using a stream and using the Air New Zealand Wi-Fi, and shit, the people around me must have been wondering what the heck I was watching on my phone. It was a real emotional roller coaster, and I was really invested in this one, mainly because I was riding home a multi of Warriors 1-12 and into Moana 1-12, and I really wanted that to come through to help pay for the weekend's festivities. I was all set for heartbreak. Landers scoring late. I thought that was game, set and match, and in years gone past, there's no way Moana would have bounced back to win this one, but the replacement halfback refused to quit, pulled off the charge down in the Rasley finish to come away with the win and cement Moana in the top 6 for the first time in their franchise's short history. We say it every week, but how special is Ardie Savea? The impact he has had on this team on and off the field is just through the roof. It's evident for all. He's an amazing player, an amazing leader. He's lifted the standards of this franchise from top to bottom. His skill set as well, the way he's playing on the field. This is one of the greatest seasons in Super Rugby I think we have ever witnessed. We saw the chip and chase last week, one of the greatest disallowed tries ever in my humble opinion. Well, he was clearly determined to score one off the boot this year. 7 on his back, playing like Luke Metcalf, get the bloke in the NRL. He scores this week off a grubber, then into a second grubber, collects it, drags the defender over the line. That is beautiful stuff. Wearing the 7 jersey, like I just mentioned too, which is asking questions around the All Blacks' loose forward makeup. I just love watching Ardie play. I love everything about him, to be fair. Should he be the All Blacks captain? That is another great question. But for now, you just got to marvel the work he's doing with Moana, and how good is it to see too. Everyone's second favourite team. I really hope they make playoffs. That would be a bloody good watch. This week, 4 games. It's a big bye round. Moana, Canes and Landers all with the week off. So we've got 2 on the Friday. Drua versus the Blues, 7:05 from Suva. A potential banana skin game for the Blues. Of course, they need to go the perfect slate from here on out to play finals. But in saying that, the way Bodie's playing at the moment, I think he'll steer them around the ship and they should come away with the win. The weather forecast is a little nasty. They've cooked up a Suva special here, 27 degrees, raining, 81% humidity. That is a shit show. I do think the Blues will adapt, though, and come home with a close dub. Then after that, Tars versus Reds. Tough game to pick this one. Tars at home, so that gives them a boost. Both teams with plenty to play for finals-wise as well. The Reds, they have to travel back from Fiji. Tars, $2.30 underdogs. That looks pretty appealing on paper. I'm expecting this one to be close for sure. Super Saturday, also 2 games. Main event, the one that is a must-watch this weekend. Top of the table clash. Satyrs versus the Chiefs. This is going to be huge. I was surprised to see the Chiefs' odds. They've blown out a little bit post the team naming, but I actually think the team is stronger than people might have expected. Crusaders, of course, quality at home. So hard to beat. Game's pretty much sold out. It's probably sold out by the time you're listening to this. They've got that All Black front row, Scotty Barrett, All Black skipper in the locks, that deadly loose forward trio, Noah Hotham, Sevu Reece, David Harville, Braden Enor, Shafi Haki, Will Jordan, and then guys like Kyle Preston, James O'Connor, Dallas McLeod's daughters, all to come off the bench and try close out the game. At the same time, though, biggest in of the weekend this weekend has to be Damian McKenzie back from his injury. The impact he is going to have on the Chiefs is massive. And like the great mate Jeff Wilson always says on the TAB Rugby podcast, which drops every week, he always says in close games, you go back to whoever's got the best 9 and 10. Noah Hotham versus Cortez Ratuma, that is probably a coin toss, but Rivers Reihana up against Damian McKenzie. No offense to Reihana, he's a quality young player, but I think everyone would say Damian McKenzie certainly has the upper hand there. And with the Chiefs side that'll be determined to win after getting embarrassed last weekend, they got Tauki Aho, Josh Lord, Samapeni Finau, Josh Jacob all on the bench looking to try and close the game out. This could come down to the winner of this one literally books himself a home grand final as well, which is a massive advantage, so plenty to play for. A genuine lip licker. It's going to be dual screen season at the Searle household on Saturday night. Might actually go to full time so I can watch both of these games live with a couple tins in hand. That's actually a bloody smart option. Go the Chiefs. And then Force versus Brumbies. Force in do or die mode. They need to try and steal this one at home. Brumbies, once again, the silent achievers though. Reds look like the best Aussie team in the comp at one stage. Then it looked like it was the Tars. Then it looked like the Reds again. No one was talking about the Brumbies, but you blink and all of a sudden they're in third. Just consistent as they always are, booking themselves home quarterfinals every year. The Force, they need to win this one at home in Perth, so that certainly helps. They head to Lautoka next weekend, and they've got the Tars and the bye to finish. They need to bank at least 2 of those 3, if not win out. So they will have circled this one, a massive Aussie derby, and that is going to be a heck of a way to finish this weekend Super Rugby action. So some 4 great games. Sucks that so many teams are on the bye, but we really start to rev things up now on the home stretch before we get into finals again. Massive playoff ramifications this weekend, so enjoy your Super Rugby action. D-Mac to steer the Chiefs to an upset. Blues to get the dub as well. How bloody good. Time to have a flutter, courtesy, of course, of the TAB. You guys already know the drill. The best betting agency in our great land. If you're not already a customer, sign yourself up, head along to their website, download the app. As always, please gamble responsibly. And I actually had probably the highlight, or one of the highlights of my punting career over at Magic Round, and it wasn't even a bet that I won myself. So let me paint the picture. It's about midday Saturday, starting to get ready to get on the tools for the Warriors, lads. I'm walking up Caxton Street, and outside of the Caxton, I see this bloke with a horse head on his head, white overalls that said ban horse racing, and I'm just thinking, what is this roost up to? Next thing you know, he yells out, "Surly mate, how are ya?" And I'm thinking, holy shit, who is this? So I cross the road to get a better look, and that's none other than the great man Marty Banks. Of course, day 3 or 4 of his stag do. He was really looking worse for wear. They dressed him up as a horse with ban horse racing on him to take him to Eagle Farm horse races before the Warriors game. Absolute scenes, a real stitch up from his mates. But basically, they were just starting their day. They were heading in for a punt, invited me in. Then they cornered me and said, "Surly, tip us a horse. If it wins, you're free to go. If not, you're locking in with us." I've never been more nervous for a horse race in my life. So I tipped them out something in the next race at Te Rapa. Thing got off to a horrible start. I had no idea just how much money they'd put on it either, which would have made me even more nervous, but I'm glad I didn't know. But basically, this thing then went on to win. Absolute scenes. The lads were chanting my name in the Caxton. It was probably the greatest couple of minutes I've ever had in my life. Well, not quite. That's a massive exaggeration. I've had way better moments, but it was up there in terms of my punting career. Massive fizz. So shout out to the lads. But anyway, Sean's that. On to tonight's action, and of course this week's punting. The Eels, $1.73 favourites, taking on the Finns, $2.10 in the greatest game of all, Rugby League. The Dolphins, they'll play their first game at Combank Stadium in their club's young history. For your try scorers, Joshie Addo-Carr, he scored 5 tries in his last 3 games, including doubles in his last 2. In fact, he's scored 2 or more tries in every game where Mitch Moses has laced up this year. He's paying $1.70 anytime, $3.25 for 2 or more. I really like that bet in this game, so I'm going to jump on him for sure. Will Penasini, he scored 3 tries in his last 2 games against the Dolphins. Hasn't scored in his last 5 games this season though, so perhaps this is a bit of a drought bet, paying $2.80. The Dolphins fullback, the Hammer, he scored 7 tries in his last 5 games, including a double last week at Magic Round. He's paying $1.92 to dot here. And then the Herbivore, the hot boy, the best looking bloke in the NRL. He's scored a try in each of his last 3 games. He's on a nice streak, paying $2.50. Some decent odds for him too. My same game multi for this one, going to run a 3-legger. Of course, if it misses by 1, I'll get my money back in bonus cash up to $50. I'm going the Fox into the Hammer and the Eels to win in a close one. $5.30 for that bet. My best bet overall for this game, I'm going to go that Fox 2 or more at $3.25 and ride that home. Your full fizz Friday, first game, Pooh Slinger Cup. Knights taking on the Titans. Knights $1.48 favourites at home. Titans $2.65. The Knights have won 3 of their last 4 games against the Titans, and the Titans actually haven't won at McDonald Jones Stadium since 2016, which is a fucking long time. That's 9 years off the top of my head with some quick math there. Knights fullback Kalen Ponga, he scored 8 tries in 10 games against the Titans. Still hasn't scored this year, paying $2.30 in this one. Fletcher Sharp, he scored 5 tries in his last 4 games. That stat, though, inflated, of course, by the hat-trick he grabbed last week. He's paying $2.25 to dot in this one for the Titans. Young JC is back. He will look to unlock their attack, paying $4.20 anytime. The big fella, Beau Fermor, he's trying to play his way into a Queensland State of Origin jersey. He scored 4 tries in his last 3 games, including a double last week, paying $3.15. Hot to trot at the moment. That seems like some great value. And then there's a couple milestone bets as well for the Titans. Their skipper, Big Tino, he'll play his 100th NRL game this week. Seems like he's played way more than that, but just goes to show how many big injuries the Big Boppers had to overcome. He's paying $6.20 to dot in the game where he raises his bat. I actually really like that bet, so I might jump on that as a bit of a side one. And then Big Mo Fotuaika, he's paying $9.50 to dot in his 150th NRL game as well. My same game multi for this one. Result, I'm going to take it out of it. It's a real Daryl Tuffy for me to pick, so I'm just going to go try score a smorgasbord. Fletcher Sharp, Beau Fermor, Schiller from Manila, $12.28. My best bet here, try bet option. Either team to win by less than 12.5 points. That's paying $2 at time of recording. Some real value there for me. Then after that, Bunnies take on the Broncos in what should be an entertaining game. Bunnies at home, $3.75 underdogs. The Broncos $1.28. Interesting to see too. The line is 10.5, which I reckon should certainly jump on. The Bunnies have won 4 of their last 5 games against the Broncos at a core. That's a great stat. Even more alarming, the Broncos have only won 2 of their last 9 games at that venue. They fucking hate travelling to Sydney, and luckily for them, the NRL pretty much rigs the draw every year so that they play a shit ton of games at Suncorp. This week, though, they have to go on the road. For your try scorers, Jesse Arthurs, he snapped a scoring streak last week. He was on a massive run, didn't dot, so he's due to get back in the mixer. And then I also don't mind the value around Katoni Staggs as well. $2.55 for him isn't bad. For the Rabbitohs, centre Campbell Graham, he scored 8 tries in his last 8 games against the Broncos, paying $3.45 to dot in this one. Of course, Trowell back, Humphrey's back. I expect them to be a little bit sharper on attack. For your same game multi, I'm going Arthurs into Graham, a stats bet, and then with that try bet option of either team 1 to 12, multi those 3 up, $8.91. I genuinely think the Bunnies will keep this one close, purely because I don't know what to expect from the Broncos. My best bet is that try bet again, either team 1 to 12, again paying $2 too, so I think that's quite sharp. Get around those 2, and let's see how we go to round out your Friday. On your Saturday, 3 games of course. The entree first, Raiders $1.78, Dogs $2.05. The Raiders have won 9 of their last 10 games against the Doggies. The Dogs have not won at GIO Stadium since 2015, so they're due. But just goes to show how good the Raiders are at home. Second rower, Huddy Young, he scored 6 tries in his last 4 games at home. He's on a 2-game drought after scoring 6 tries in his 3 previous games before that. Paying $2.90 here, so I reckon we get on him. Then old mate Hot Tamale, the young winger, he scored 3 tries in his last 3 games, 1 in each, $1.91, not bad odds for him. KO Weeks, 2 tries in his last 2 games, paying $2.95, don't mind that. And Matty Timakor, he scored 4 tries in his last 4 games against the Dogs, $3.15, pretty good value there. For the Bulldogs, Stephen Crichton, he scored 9 tries in 7 games against the Raiders, paying $2.60 anytime here. That looks like some good jam. And then Kiraz, hat-trick last week, trying to play his way into a Blues jersey, $2.10. That's some pretty big odds. So for my same game multi, I'm going to go Raiders. I think they'll be too good. Into Hudson Young and Kiraz at $9.15. Yes, please. My best bet, I'm going to go Hudson Young, $2.90, and look to get that value. Loves scoring at home. Hopefully he can tick on our slip. Dragons $2.15, Warriors $1.70. Block your ears, these stats aren't great. I mentioned a couple of them before, but the Dragons have won 11 of their last 13 games against the Warriors at Wynn Stadium. We've only won 3 of our 15 games at that venue since 1995. However, we have won 2 of the last 3, as I alluded to before, so I reckon we carry that on. We go on more recent history. What's that? A 66.6% win rate. All over that. For your try scorers for the Dragons, Sloan paying $2. That's a pretty good price right there. Valentine's Day Holmes at $2.85 is also pretty sharp buying. Egan, the fake one, he's not a bad shout as well for a forward from the Dragons. It's a bit of a battle of the Egans actually. Dylan versus Wade. I'm going to back Wado to come out on top there for sure. For the Warriors, Dallin scored 3 in his last NRL appearance. Of course, snapped his wrist in the preseason, but he's just a classy finisher, a bloody good footballer. $1.75 for him to get straight back into his work. I don't mind that. Of course, Tane, he switched across now onto the left wing. That's where a lot of our attack has been going. $2 for him. That's pretty juicy. Wets, Adam Pompey, 3 tries in his last 2 games at $2.75. Don't mind that. Lukey Met, the Jet, LM7, 5 tries in his last 5 games at $3.25. Good value there too. And it's still hard to go past Lecker for me at $4.20 on a 2-game non-scoring streak. He's just too good. He's going to cross eventually, and that is good value. Aaron Clark, watch also if you're playing along at home. Lazy tenner on Aaron Clark every week until he salutes. We're down bad at the moment, but all it takes really is 1 try, and we're at least break even. He's paying $7.25 this week. Surely the hardest working bloke in all of Rugby League. Dots down for a meaty. Some stage soon, let's certainly hope so. For your same game multi, I'm going Warriors into Val and Dell. Your Val Dell bet at $8.05. If you want to take the result out, Val Dell Lecker Larry, but it's paying $19.67. My best bet, Warriors on the nose, $1.70, and you best believe I'll be having a flutter at 13 plus too. Why fucking not? After that, Cowboys take on the Panthers. Cows $2.35 dogs. Panthers $1.60 on the road as the favourites. Cowboys have won 4 of their past 6 against the Panthers, and the Panthers have only won 1 of their last 4 in Townsville. For your try scorers, Jackson Purdue, he scored 7 tries in his last 6 games, paying $2.85 here. Dotted against the Warriors last week. That's some good jam for him. Murray Taulangi as well. He scored 6 tries in his last 5 games. Has scored in all 5 of those straight as well. $2.02. That's some real value for me. As is Nanai, scored 3 tries in his last 2 games. Looks like Toddy Payton's getting the best out of him all of a sudden. He always peaks around Origin. $3.40. Not bad odds there for the Panthers. Here comes To'o. He scored 7 in his last 6. Fresh back from that hamstring strain, $1.70 on return, not a bad shout. And then Isaac Tango, he's scored in each of his last 2 games as well, $2.55 to cross the chalk in this one. My same game multi, I'm going either team by 12.5 or less. Love that try bet when it's a fence sit game for me. Then I'm going Talangi into To'o, $5.22. If that's not enough money for you, you could chase the Triple T multi, Talangi, To'o, Tango, $8.54. And my best bet for this game, Murray Taolangi, $2.02. Sign me up for that. Super Sunday, just the 2 games, but they're quality to round us out. You got the Storm at $1.20 home favourites taking on the Tigers at $4.60. The Storm have won their last 7 straight against the Tigers. The Tigers have only won 2 of their 15 games in Melbourne. Pappenhausen, he scored 3 tries in his last 3 games, $1.55 for him. It's short, but it could go good on your multis. Storm winger Xavier Coates, he's also scored 35 tries in his 31 games at Amy Park. Got a great strike rate there, $1.60 for him. Sunia Taruva gave one of the best post-match interviews After their dub last week, fuck was he frothing speaking to SJ. He scored 9 tries in his last 8 games, paying $2.15. Not a bad shout. And then old shit Staines, he scored 3 tries in his last 2 games, Charlie Staines, paying $2.40. Samuel Fainu, he scored in each of his last 2 games as well at $5.25 for something a little more leery. Same game multi in this one, boring bet, Pups, Coates, Storm, book that one. Final game, Manly, $1.68, Sharkies, $2.20. Manly, they haven't beaten the Sharks at 4 pints since 2019. Found that bloody surprising. The Sharks have won 5 of their last 6 games against Manly 2, a genuine bogey side. The Dally M winner at the moment, Will Kennedy. Will the Thrill, he scored 5 tries in 6 games against Manly. He's in great try-scoring form this year too. He's paying $3.25 to score. KL Little, of course, fresh off the name change from Kale to KL, really simplifying how to pronounce that bad boy. He scored 6 tries in his last 5 games, scored in each of the 5 as well, so it's not inflated by multis or hat-tricks there. He's going up in ones, the odd 2, but he's good to dot at $2.60. For Manly, Tommy Turbo, he scored 7 tries in his last 7 games against the Sharks, $2.20 for him. The Submarine, he scored 3 tries in his last 3 games this year at $1.80. And then the Flyer, Stubby Cola Cola, Tolu Cola, he has scored in the last 2 games straight, paying $2.95. Same game multi in this one. Despite the stats, I'm saying up yours to them. I'm going to back in Manly Eagle Rock season into Turbo and KL Iro at $8.77. My best bet, Iro at $2.60. Your Super Rugby, I'm going to run you through a couple here, what I like, and then some try scorers that I like to dot to based off your team list. For the Blues, no mucking around, strong team named here as you would expect. Do or die season. They're $1.37 favourites on the road in Suva. The draw paying $2.90. The Lion in that one is 7.5 points. I am going to back the Blues to win, but I do think it would be close, and an alternative line also is a pretty decent shout here for your try scorers. The 2 wingers, AJ Lamb and Cole Forbes, are always a good shout, as is Bodie Barrett, playing off some razzle out the back of shape. Don't mind him. Ricky Riccatelli, the DJ, he'll also be getting in there as a rolling maul bet for me. And Big Hoskins, back in Fiji, don't mind him to cross for a bit of value there as well. And remember, those 3-leg same game multi promos apply for your Super Rugby code as well. Tars versus Reds, I like the Tars on an alternative line as well. They're currently $2.30 home underdogs. The Reds $1.57. Tars, great record at home, so I think they'll keep this one nice and close. Tease them out as well. Plus 11.5, you still get some decent value on that one. Crusaders versus Chiefs. This will be a barnstormer, and in huge news for the Chiefs, potential game-changing news, D-Mac is back in the mixer, and off the back of that, I actually do like the Chiefs to get up. They've gone big here. Wallace Satiti, he's starting at 8-2. It's time to roll out the big guns. They'll be stinging off the back of a disappointing performance last week, so I think they go the big lift. Taukiaho still on the bench, Brody McAllister in the starting hooker role, so they're going for some impact there too. Joshy Lord, Samapeni Finau, Xavier Rowe, also on the Remu. The Chiefs are blowing out a little too since the odds, the teams were named. They've gone out to $2.25. The Crusaders at $1.60. I like them more than I did at the start. I just think with D-Mac at the helm, I rate him more than Rivers Reihana. No offense to Rivers, he's still a quality footballer. But man, I just think they could go down there and pull off the upset. Satyrs at home, so hard to beat though. So if you completely disagree with me, then shit, I can't be mad at you. Alternative line, at least for me, on the Chiefs for some decent value. For your try scorers, of course, Amoni Narawa, he's always on my slips. Leroy Carter, the 2 razzle-dazzle wingers out wide, they will be in the mixer for sure. For the Satyrs, Cody Taylor, he is always a good bet, as is Sevu Reece and Will Jordan. They will be the main centres of attention for me. Looking forward to that game. Dual screen season, so I can make sure I'm watching the Warriors as well. And then Force versus Brumbies in the final one. I'm going to take take the Brums in a close game there, paying $1.52. Alternative line, also not a bad shout there. So actually, I'll chuck together a little alternative line multi for you here. I'll go Tars plus 11.5, Drua plus 12.5, Chiefs plus 9.5, and Force plus 14.5. I reckon that's pretty safe. $3.43. It's not a crazy return, but I reckon that's some good punting on a nice little multi there that has a high chance of coming in. I think the main concern for me, probably the Force and the Drua games. Surely the Chiefs cover a 9.5 start. And then, of course, in the UFC, back of my boy Navajo Sterling by method of victory, KO or TKO, jumping on that option, paying $2.10. And then I'm going Jack Della Maddalena to pull off the upset as well. He's paying $2.30 at time of recording. A bit of an Anzac bet there for UFC 315. Can't wait for those biffs on your Sunday. Q&A time before we call her a day and send you on your merry way. The questions flooded in. It had been a while since I fired them through too, so I've just gone through and picked out the best 3 that I'll tuck into here, wary of how long I've been chewing your ears off for. But shout out to Nick Nath as well, long-time question asker, who pointed out Trent Alexander-Arnold unfortunately moving on from Liverpool, going to Real Madrid, so that will be interesting to watch and sad to see him go, but you can't keep everyone when your team's that stacked. That's the way I like to justify it anyway. But your first real question to dive into, Taylor CG says, the Mighty Coat 4-2 heading into the bye. What do you think the team needs to improve on to win it all? Yeah, the beloved maroon and gold, the mighty Northcote Prems, currently 4 wins from our 6 games. We've had losses to Massey and Taka, which really does sting. Both of those at home too, at the graveyard that we like to call it. So there has been a couple unfortunate blimps on our radar so far. Got the bye this week. The lads pumped Kumu last week, 80 points to 5. We've got North Shore next week down in Devonport. They haven't lost a game in 3 years, so we've got to be up for that one. A really tough task, but already looking forward to it. Yeah, look, in terms of what we need to improve on, to be fair, we've had a horrible run of health. I think against Massey, we worked out that there were about 13 lads that would probably normally be in the 22 or really close to it that were all unavailable for selection due to injury, but it seems like the tide's turning and the boys are starting to come back into the mix, and now we should have the majority of them back for that Shore game. So hopefully we're going to be healthy come the right end of the season. We've got all our bad luck out the way early, and that will certainly help. Just being able to field what is probably our best 22 or very close to every week, that will be huge. On top of that, I guess just nailing our processes, the way we want to play, really getting everyone on the same page around where they need to be at certain times on the field for certain maps and things like that. We've still got a bit of work to do around our clarity and establishing some combinations. Boys had a bonding session last weekend though. Great time, Carver and Bears by all accounts. Everyone seemed to be loving it. We've got a court session coming up. We've got some team nights as well. Those always bring the boys together. So I'm expecting post-bye, the Code are really going to hit their straps. It's going to be a famous victory for us this year, and we will be at Mudbrick on Monday to watch our coach get married. One of the great promises he made on the piss a few weeks back that I certainly will be holding him to. The next one comes through from Josh Andrews, who said, did you watch the New Zealand All Blacks under 85s, and what did you think? Yeah, the first time this team's existed, I think Graham Henry's had a big part in putting it all together, and shout out to him. What an impact he has had on New Zealand rugby, and he continues to have as well. They took on Sri Lanka over in Sri Lanka, looked like a massive crowd too, which is great to see. Look, I'm not sure how good Sri Lanka are, to be fair. I think they're ranked around 39 odd in the world at the moment. So they're certainly not the worst. They're far from the best though, and I saw the boys put 50 odd on them, so that is impressive. I didn't catch the whole game, saw some highlights. Looks like some talented individuals in there and some boys that look a bloody lot heavier than 85 kgs. They must be about 80 odd kilos of muscle. Dick skin season for sure. There were some large boppers going around. So look, that's just a credit to them and the shape they keep themselves in. But I always love watching the under 85s comp when it's played at a high level. That national finals competition is a bloody good idea too. I wish Prems had something like that. But the 85s, it's always high quality, it's fast pace, and it's an entertaining watch. And good to see the New Zealand finally has a team. Great reward for these lads that lace up the boots for their clubs every week and probably don't get the recognition they deserve, to be fair. So well done to those boys. And then the final one, and this is an absolute doozy, comes through from My Name's Jeff NZ, which is my great mate, Jeff McTainch, of course, Sky Sport commentator, the best in the business for me at the moment, covering all the Super Rugby. He's always a pleasure to have blasting through your eardrums whenever you tune into Sky. And he says if the Wars could bring one player back for this season from the past, who would it be? That is a barnstormer. Straight away, your mind cast to the greats, right? Stacey Jones, chuck him in the 7, but at the same time, our halves are going quite well, so you'd probably pass there. SJ, you chuck him in the same category. Simon Mannering, although we've got Aaron Clark in the 13 at the moment, playing some great code. Simone, though, would be a great injection. Chuck that hard worker in alongside Barnett, Fish, and Aaron Clark. That would be scary scenes. Manu Vatuvai, chuck him on the wing with the injuries we've got at the moment. The big bopper, he would be hard to handle. Clinton Torpey in the centres, used to always love watching him play. Henry Farfeli, Monty Beetham, Kevin Campion, Michael Luck. Shit, the mind just goes wandering. I've missed off a handful of great players as well, a shit ton of them to be fair. But for me, one I'd love to chuck in this team at the moment, I'd love to get the Michael Jordan of League, Ali Lautiti in the mixer. Imagine him on one edge with Leka Halasima on the other. The razzle and the power and just the unpredictability would be through the roof. I think it'd be massive for us in the second row at the moment. And I think today's game suits him so much. He was a pioneer. He was before his time, Big Ali. He would be a genuine fan favourite as he was then, but his profile in the game now would be fucking huge. I would love to see Ali Lautiti come into this current Warriors team. They're going to be even more of a household name than he already is. A great question that, though. Be keen to hear your answer there, Jeff, and also the answer of the listeners too. I know there's a few Warriors faithful probably yelling at their phones right now or whatever device they're tuning into, because I certainly would have missed a few people off. There's a lot of great answers there, but for me, it's Ali Lautiti. And cheers again for all the questions. I'll chuck up the story again next week if I remember, so fire them through, and appreciate everyone for getting around the old Q&A. That's us for another week, another edition of Surly Talk Sports. Cheers for your ears. If you're having a flutter this weekend, do so through our mates at the TAB. Really appreciate their support, so get around them. Go well if you're playing grassroots footy this weekend. All the best. I wish you well. Cope with the bye, so I'll be putting the feet up to rest. That's 2 weeks off for me now, so I'll be raring to go next weekend. As always, up the Wars. Hopefully a famous win in Wollongong on ways for us. Up the Chiefs. Hopefully they can beat the Crusaders as well. And good luck to the Blues. Hopefully they can keep their finals hopes alive. Go well. Stay safe. Have a good one. Catch you back here. Same time, same place next week. Big Fizz.